Can I call to the table, please, Lindsay Carswell? Thank you. And we're circulating, Lindsay, some supplementary material that you've prepared for us.
One of the joys of ageing is that you start losing your hearing, and eyesight is another problem I've been having. Okay.
Well, welcome. We've got about 10 minutes.
Okay.
You know the process. Speaking to the
how
microphone, we can hear you. Hopefully you can hear us.
Okay. My name is William Lindsay Carswell. I'm a retired school teacher, and I taught economics and accounting at Kirikiri High School for a number of years. I have a commerce degree from the University of Canterbury. Shortly after the 4th September 2010 earthquake, legislation was passed, the Canterbury Earthquake Response and Recovery Act 2010, and extraordinary powers were conferred on the Minister for the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery, Jerry Brownlee. This was replaced with the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Act after the February 2011 earthquake. The same month of the first earthquake, September 2010, concern was expressed by a group of academics, experts in constitutional law on the powers conferred on the Minister. This is from a report which was published at the time, Deep Concerns over Canterbury Earthquake Legislation, outlined in Scholars' Open Letter dated September 2010. Any claim that such safeguards are unnecessary because the Act's powers will be wisely and sparingly applied, and that informal consultation and public pressure would ensure that this happens, must be resisted. Only formal legal means of accountability, ultimately enforceable through the courts, are constitutionally acceptable. However, the Minister responded, said that the government doesn't need to justify the law, and any suggestion it will be misused is not worth responding to. Mr. Brownlee says he knows that this location, the people of Canterbury have suffered, and says that they expect the government to do whatever it can to put their lives back together. I want to talk about the Hagley Oval. I've spent a lot of my time over the last 2 or 3 years on this issue, but it's similar to a lot of other things that have been going on in Canterbury ever since the earthquake. Although the battle over the cricket oval has ended, there are still unanswered questions, and particularly the role of the Minister and how the oval was made an anchor project in the blueprint released in July 2012. Canterbury Cricket had always wanted to go back to Hagley Park. They used to be there. They got asked to leave in the 19th century because the public got sick of being charged to go and watch cricket. So they went off and bought what became known as Lancaster Park. That's how that all happened. Unfortunately, the Hagley Park management plan prevented this. They couldn't get back in because of the plan. But the passing of the Sarah Act made it possible, and Canterbury Cricket made their move. Attached to this submission are a series of emails and letters with the Earthquake Recovery Minister, Chief Executive of Sarah, and the Ombudsman's Office, requesting information regarding the placement of the oval in the blueprint. These are all OI requests I have made, not only to those organisations, but to Sport New Zealand, Treasury, so on. An email released under the OIA, but actually it was a local government version of the OIA, from the Christchurch City Council indicates that the Minister was in secret consultation over the Hagley Oval. There were meetings going on with him, the cricket people, staff at Sarah and staff from the Christchurch City Council. It's beginning to dribble out. In the last letter from the Minister, he advised me, after I had to wait 70 working days for a response, that there is no new information covered by your latest request. Sarah also advised me the same. I find it difficult to believe that the Minister and Sarah have no information that clearly shows the process and those responsible for the placement of the Oval as an anchor project. I have seen nothing how it was actually done. It just suddenly happened. The cricket people, they got what they wanted. It is apparent that the fears of the academic experts were correct. The Minister has misused the powers conferred on him under the legislation. My recommendations are quite simple. In Christchurch, we need to return to full democracy, and a rebranded Sarah will not achieve that. We need full democracy where there are the usual processes that you can turn to. At the moment, we don't have that. The bill needs to ensure that the role of the Crown and the Earthquake Recovery Minister's powers be limited or curtailed. In fact, removing them altogether would be, in my view, quite satisfactory. However, that's what I want to say. I cannot believe how that Oval ever got there. And I've had people say to me, how did it happen? Nobody can tell me. The Minister won't tell me. Sarah won't tell me. They have given me some information. The Ombudsman got some more information. The last pieces of correspondence in here are the letter I sent to the Ombudsman. It's about a 4-page letter, and it details my letters and correspondence with the Minister and Sarah and their response back to me. So odd. And I have had phone calls from the Ombudsman, and they did get out Sarah. They got a briefing paper, which had previously been given to me, but had been so heavily censored it was meaningless. And I also got, which was extremely rare, I got the legal opinion that the Minister asked for at the time. By the time he received it, the blueprint had already been released. And he did, so it was of no use to him by that stage. They'd put it in. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay, and thanks for the material. It's certainly extensive. Are there any questions, members? Matt?
Thank you very much for your submission, and I'm hoping you'll take this with the intent it means. I find the Hagley Oval very interesting, and I think it's very, considering we're here talking about the regeneration of Christchurch, and so part of this is about having a city that was okay but possibly stagnating in parts and could always have done better. The earthquakes come along and there's a chance to rethink a city, and you'd look internationally, there's very few opportunities or times this has happened before. And so it's very interesting when you look at the Hagley Oval, because like you say, there was some people who weren't very keen on the idea, but now it's actually been built. I would argue there's very few people against it, because what they've now seen is arguably the best cricket ground in New Zealand, and I've been there, and when you go there and see all Cantabrians round the embankment, an international game, from there the game will finish and people will go into the city eventually and have dinner and accommodation. It's part of what makes a vibrant city. And so you're right, at first people kind of like, no, we've never really done this in our park before, albeit a long time ago. But now they're actually saying, hey, you know, anchor projects like this are really good.
Well, a couple of points. First of all, when you steal the jewel out of the crown, you could hardly go wrong. It was always going to be successful in there. But it was stolen. Secondly, 5 years before, a new Hagley Park management plan was produced. It was over a 2-year process. In Canterbury Cricket, at that stage, they put a proposal in that they wanted to play international cricket there, and they wanted to put screens around to shield it off so people can go along and watch and not have to pay. That received about the second largest number of responses in opposition to it, to any of the other projects, or about 50 odd projects were looked at. So 5 years previously, the public said no to it. But as I said before, it was all done in secret. If we had gone through a proper process, if consultation had occurred, and all the people in Christchurch could have had a say on it, and if the result of that was, yes, let's build it, then you couldn't argue. But that never happened. Never got that chance at all. And as for the Environment Court hearings, their hands were tied. They had to assume, the lawyer from Sarah came along and said that because of the legislation, the Hagley Park Management Plan now allows for the oval to be built there. The courts couldn't turn it down. Those who spent thousands of dollars opposing it in the Environment Court just wasted their money. Totally wasted it. And I guess some people probably laughed at them behind their back.
Eugenia's got a question.
Mr Caswell, thank you very much for the submission, particularly all of the attached OIA requests, which certainly reflects my experience with the organisation as well. But the Hagley Park is actually covered by the bill. Yeah. Can I take it that you would not support that, given that we've seen no evidence as to why Hagley Park should be part of the bill?
Oh, look, I'm not 100% on that. What I just wanted to say was, let's get back to full democracy. The minor details that you're just raising there, I'm not sorry, I can't.
Sorry, full democracy, as you're asking for, with the Hagley Park Reserve Management Plan,
yeah, that
would have meant that any application for something like the Oval would have to go through the full submission process.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, it wouldn't. The management plan actually prevented it, totally prevented it.
So those provisions were trumped by the recovery plan. Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, Lindsay, in that case then, can I thank you for your submission and thanks
okay.
for going
if
to
you require any more information about Sport New Zealand's involvement in it, in the Oval, and the so-called confidential underwriting, which Canterbury Cricket referred to, it turned out to be the taxpayer. Yeah, I've got all the emails.
Thanks so much. Thanks for coming to present to us. Appreciate it. Can I call to the table